How you doing? Uh, we was on step 4 last week. We're gonna continue on step 4 today. Hopefully we'll finish step 4. You know, in my experience, a lot of people they try to avoid this step, right? But we know if we avoid this step 4 here, we're gonna drink again. I hear people putting it off. They want to put it off, put it off. But we can't keep putting this stuff off if we want to get better, if we want to recover from this alcoholism. Because even during the inventories that we do, we got the resentment inventory, we got the fear inventory, we got the sex inventory, and the harm that we cause others inventory. So we want to cling on to those things. It's dangerous for a real alcoholic, especially my type. I know it'd be dangerous for me. So let's see, Brother Dan, I'm gonna do a quick review, and then we'll with the fear, where we start the fear inventory. So, beginning of step 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Getting right with myself. In other words, see, we selfish, we alcoholics, we selfish, we self-centered. We want everything to go our way. We always expecting something for somebody in all these different areas, no doubt. Then we get a resentment when they don't want to do for us what we want them to do. Yeah, and that resentment can turn into hurt. I mean, we'll hurt somebody or hurt ourselves, right? But anyway, what page is that? Well, at the beginning of step 4, it says, next we launched on a course of vigorous action. The first step of which is a personal house cleaning, which many of us never attempted, though our decision, the step 3 decision is what we were talking about. It was a vital and crucial step. It could have little permanent effect unless at once followed by a strenuous effort to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which have been blocking us. Notice it mentions strenuous effort, right? I mean, we got to put forth some hard effort, right? In my drinking career, boy, I worked hard to keep myself drunk. So if I ran out of money, I'm going to work and get me some and get me something to drink. I don't care who toes I stepped on, it didn't matter. So that was hard work, to be honest. So in our inventories, we got to work hard. We got to get these things out. Because, the big book tells us our liquor was but a symptom. So we had to get down to causes and conditions. Therefore, we started up on a personal inventory. This was step 4. So we take stock honestly. First, we searched out the flaws in our makeup, which caused our failure. And then being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us. We considered some of its common manifestations. We alcoholics, we flutter with pride. We egotistical. We suffer from self-pity, morbidness, jealous. We have envy, suspicion, selfishness, self-seeking. We're uncertain about a lot of things. We are unthinking about a lot of things. We are insincere about a lot of things. Dishonesty. We lie. We exaggerate. We live in self-delusion, self-centeredness, self-justification, and the list goes on and on and on. Well, what do we do about it? Well, we got it written down on paper. So I want to touch here on page, Brother Dan, on page 67. You can read from the top of that page down to the next to the last paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Starting from though and finish it at everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Page 67, everybody. Top of the page. Though we did not like their symptoms and the way these disturbed us, they, like ourselves, were sick too. We asked God to help us show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, "This is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God save me from being angry. Thy will be done." We avoid retaliation or argument. We wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy our chance of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. Cool.
Okay, next paragraph. Yeah.
Referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely looked for our own mistakes. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? Though the situation had not been entirely our fault, we tried to disregard the other person involved entirely. Where were we to blame? The inventory was ours, not the other man's. When we saw our faults, we listed them. We placed them before us in black and white. We admitted our wrongs honestly and were willing to set these matters straight.
Okay, thank you, my brother. No
Cool.
doubt about it. So back to the first paragraph, where it reads, though we did not like their symptoms and the way these disturbed us, they, like ourselves, were sick too. A reminder, we are all spiritually sick to some extent. For the alcoholic, it is much worse, but there are people who never drink no alcohol. They spiritually sick too. So we want to look at things from a different angle. So, few key points about the 4-step prayer. When somebody upsets us, we ask God for willingness to respect them. And then we ask help us to be compassionate toward these people. We ask God for patience. We can recognize their spiritual illness. Ask God to show us how we can help. We ask God to direct our thinking. We ask God to control the out. So the reading says we ask God to help us to show them the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. Well, you know, these things that we go through is part of the human condition. Like I said, we're all spiritually sick in a certain way, but then when a person offended us, we said, this is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God, save me from being angry. Thy will be done. That's a simple 4-step resentment prayer. And, you know, and it helps because I had to go through this process and I needed a lot of prayer. I had to pray to God an awful lot, which I still do right now, all through the day. So at some point, you know, we become God conscious and we tend to rely on him. Because people are going to upset us every day, even now, though we recover from alcoholism. People are still going to get on our nerves. But it's how we react today, right? We're going through this inventory. Once we finish this inventory, we go through our step 5 and on through the rest of the steps. We learn how we can deal with these people. But at this point, say if we hadn't went through the steps yet, we learning how to have new ideas, how to have a new way of thinking, and stop relying on self. So then it talks about we avoid retaliation or argument. You know, we alcoholics, we tend to have a fight or flight mentality. We have to pause sometimes. We have to freeze sometimes. We have to stop our brain from thinking so fast sometimes, because the old way that we alcoholics act, we would argue in a minute. And I know I retaliated in a minute. I would simply just go slap off. I might cuss you, call you every name in the book, then you'll be ready to fight me, and then we might get into a tangle, right? So, but at this point, so far, we're on page 67, right? So now, going through the process, we seek to avoid retaliation or any kind of argument, because we know if we get an argument with somebody, we tend to get a resentment, and then that resentment will turn into something else, and it can put us in a little bit of danger. But then the book goes on to bring out, we wouldn't treat sick people that way. If we do, we destroy our chance of being helpful. We cannot be helpful to all people, but at least God will show us how to take a kindly and tolerant view of each and every one. And this is incorporated in step 11. Because, you know, at page 85, as a matter of fact, when it talks about as we go through the day. Now, page 87, where I'm at. As we go through the day, we pause when agitated or doubtful and ask for the right thought or action. We constantly remind ourselves we are no longer running the show, humbly saying to ourselves many times each day, thy will be done. And that helps me a whole lot in my journey. Then you can think about page 84. continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. When these crop up, because they're gonna crop up, these things they talk about, they will crop up. So we ask God at once to remove them. Then we discuss them with someone immediately and make amends quickly if we have harmed anyone. Now, here's the solution that Bill Wilson found early on when he was at the hospital. Then we resolutely turn our thoughts to someone we can help. Bill was thinking about helping people, even though he was still in the hospital struggling with alcoholism. He was thinking about how many more alcoholics out there can use some help. The day he was at the Mayflower Hotel, he turned his thoughts to find somebody he can help to keep him sober. You know, that's a pretty well good solution in Alcoholics Anonymous. Talking to another alcoholic, that's the foundation stone of our recovery. So here we talk about love and tolerance of others is our code. Because in my drinking career, I made people not love me. People weren't tolerant about me because I didn't care. But it's changed. Today is quite the opposite. I treat people with love today and care and respect and all these good things. So God will show us the way how to be kind and tolerant to everybody. Okay, and then still on page 67, it says, referring to our list again, putting out of our minds the wrongs others had done, we resolutely look for our own mistakes. Key point, we look for our own mistakes. We ain't looking at nobody else's mistakes. It don't matter what they did to us. We have to look at where we're wrong at, our mistakes. So where had we been selfish, dishonest, self-seeking, and frightened? And see, in these things, when it talks about alcohol was but a symptom, right? These are some symptoms that we have deep down within us. So though a situation had not been entirely our fault, we tried to disregard the other person involved entirely. Where were we to blame? The inventory was ours, not the other man's. When we saw our faults, we listed them. We placed them before us in black and white. Yes, we admitted our wrongs honestly and were willing to set these matters straight. There's that word, willingness, to set it straight. We got to be willing. We always have to be willing. So, and when we're talking about the resentment, then we'll move on. We consider each resentment in the first column on our sheet, and then we repeat the prayer for them. Now we ignore the name in the first column entirely. Then we can look only at ourself. So when it talks about selfish, we want to look at how we have been concerned only with ourselves to the exclusion of all others and regarded our well-being above all others. We want to be above everybody. That sounds like playing God, right? We want to be above all of us because God is above all of us. And then when it talks about the dishonesty part, where have we been deceptive, lied to others, or been untrue to others or to ourselves? The self-seeking. How have we taken advantage of somebody's life without regard to consequences to the other person? Yes, only caring about self. We didn't care how bad we hurt nobody. You know, the column that talks about being frightened. How have we been afraid, anxious, or apprehensive? But the bottom line is we ask ourselves, where was I to blame? Where was I responsible? Here we must be honest and look at our faults. That's the true key thing. Look at our faults. So it took me my step 4. I got it in my storage bin over there. It's just packed up. Because, you know, I had a long, lustrous drinking career, but I couldn't remember everything that I did to people. So, you know, I had to take that part to God. Because even as I don't care if we're a newcomer or what, we simply can't remember all of these things that we did to people. You know, we wreaked havoc. I know I wreaked havoc every darn where I went. Some people I know I'll never see again because Some people I did harm to 40 years ago. A lot of them dead and gone. So, you know, I had to take that part to God. I did my part on this thing to the best of my ability, right? But you know, whatever, ain't nothing popped up in my mind to cause me to linger on or worry about it. Somebody that I may have not seen yet, I am willing to set the matter straight, no doubt about it. Because I've been through the steps. I did my amends, my step 9 amends. Then, you know, I got free when I did step 5 with talking to God and with my sponsor. And it freed all that stuff that I had wrote down. It was important. But the thing about it was I couldn't hesitate. When I did that step, made that step 3 decision, I had to immediately, like the book said, you know, go to the next step immediately. I went from step 3 to step 4 in the same day. It took me a couple of days to do my whole step. Took me about a week to actually do all my step 4 and get it all down. As soon as I finished it, I called my sponsor. We got on the Zoom thing together, and then we went through step 5. Free as a bird. I thank God for it, because I had some things that been on my list and it was messing with me real bad. So, Brother Dan, bottom of page 67, we talk about a little bit of fear. And
Yeah.
then and you can stop on top of page 68. The matter of fact, at the end of the first full paragraph, where it says, when it made us cocky, it was worse.
Yeah, sure. Last paragraph on page 67, everybody. Notice that the word fear is bracketed alongside the difficulties with Mr. Brown, Mrs. Jones, the employer, and the wife. This short word somehow touches about every aspect of our lives. It was an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence was shot through with it. It set in motion trains of circumstances which brought us misfortune we felt we didn't deserve. But did not we ourselves set the ball rolling? Sometimes we think fear ought to be classed with stealing. It seems to cause more trouble. We reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper, even though we had no resentment in connection with them. We asked ourselves why we had them. Wasn't it because self-reliance failed us? Self-reliance was good as far as it went, but it didn't go far enough. Some of us once had great self-confidence, but it didn't fully solve the fear problem or any other. When it made us cocky, it was worse.
Okay, thank you, brother Dan. Notice the word fear. Fear is bracketed alongside the difficulties with Mr. Brown, Mrs. Jones, the employer, and the wife. And it also says this short word, it touches every aspect of our very lives. Every aspect. Fear is a human condition. It's a natural born instinct. We human beings are born with fear. How we react to them is a whole different story, right? So it was an evil and corroding thread. The fabric of our existence was shot through with it. It set a train of circumstances which brought us misfortune we felt we didn't deserve. But did we not ourselves set the ball rolling? So fear sets up things in our lives that we think are unjustified. Yet by having fear, we can cause these conditions ourselves. If I'm fearful of something, I'm gonna make matters worse. And I experienced that. Let me tell y'all some crazy stuff though. I used to have a fear of running out of alcohol, right? I ain't see how I couldn't live without it. Shoot, I'm going to lie to somebody. I'm going to take something from somebody because I didn't want to run out. My bottle was getting this low. I was in a panic mode. So fear, it makes us afraid. It makes us anxious. It makes us apprehensible. You know, we're going to get very apprehensive. When that liquor bottle running low, it run out. No. I was afraid of how I would act when it did run out, you know? And that was a big fear for me. Of course, I feared a lot of other things, but eventually I had to go through that. I used to have a fear of dying every time I took a drink and went out the house. I might be in a car wreck. or somebody might shoot me, or somebody might just kill my butt for something I done did to them. My alcoholism got that bad. I was fearful to answer the phone. Somebody knock on my door, I was going there and hide under the bed because I didn't know who it was. You know, I wasn't scared of the police. I was just fearful. It might be somebody that I done really seriously hurt and don't even remember it, right? So fear, it's a tough thing. But this program, it brings out the fear in us, right? Once I can write all these things down on paper. Matter of fact, I think my fear inventory was like 8 pages long. I used to have a fear of going to hell when I was growing youngster. Screwed me up in relationship with God, right? I grew up in my parents were religious, they were church people. I grew up going to church. But this God I didn't like because I was scared to death of him. I was, God, why in the world you create me if you just want to burn me up if I make one bad sin or something? I didn't like that God. So when I got 16, I left my mama home and I got married when I was 17. And I didn't have to go listen to this God. And at some point, this alcohol made me feel like I was God. So I shut God out of my life for a whole lot of years, right? But then when I come finally accepted the plan outlined in this book, when I started looking at myself, I got all these things wrote down. I realized God was been with me the whole time. All this junk I've been in my life. Shoot, I should have been dead here. I should have been dead here. And I mean, ridiculous situations that I put my own self in, right? Because I was fearful of running out of stuff. So, and then I go act crazy, and it like it took my life several times. It really did. So then it goes on to say, we reviewed our fears thoroughly. We put them on paper, even though we had no resentment with them. Thing is, we asked ourselves why we had them. So, you know, in our sheet in column 1, when we deal with people, institutions, and principles, right? So we can ask ourselves simple questions as who or what am I afraid of? What am I afraid of losing or getting? See, that's the fear. We can be afraid of losing something or not getting what we want. That caused me a lot of problems. Did have a fear of control. Other people make mistakes and are incompetent. If I want anything done, I had to do it right myself, right? That's the mentality that we alcoholics can't have. Then we looked at the second column. Now in the third column, we talks about this whatever affects, threatens, hurts, or interferes with my self-esteem. See, this causes a lot of fear because fear is bracketed right in the column we went through. So we have fear about self-esteem being tampered with, our security, our ambitions, our pocketbook, our relationships, including sex. We have a fear of these things. So the column 4, it says, where am I at fault? Where am I to blame? What are my mistakes? And the top of this off, that means we need, when we write this inventory down, we need to identify our defects, our character defects. So we're going to have defects. We'll have defects the rest of our lives. But it's important to write down the major ones, what is blocking us from having a relationship with God or the power greater than ourselves. Then we can look at our liabilities. We're not all bad people. We ain't bad all the time, right? Some of us alcoholics, we ain't never been in jail and none of this kind of stuff. So we do have some good things. There's examples in the big book. Who that? Mr. Brown, what was it? Mr. Brown? Not Mr. Brown. Who was that? Jim, the car salesman, Jim. He was just one sweet dude. Everybody loved him. But yet he was alcoholic, right? So he turned into a different person when he drank. I did too. So then we look at everything that's blocking. We can talk about the false pride. We can examine our false pride, the jealousy we may have in people, against people, the lust. See, I had a lust demon in my life. It was real bad. Dishonest, where was I envious at? Where was I greedy at? Where was I slothful at? Who did I hate and for what reason? Where was my selfishness involved in this at? Where was my impatience involved? That impatience was involved every time. So then we talk about column. I'm gonna go to column 5. It asks the question, what should I have done instead, right? So now we can identify the good things about us that we can strive for, such as humility. That's something we can strive for. I certainly wasn't too humble in my drinking career, but today, thanks to God, I had the best humility in the world. It was a gift from God, not of my own doing. So then we can strive to be trustful, to tell the truth, to be honest with people. Then we can look at our contentment. Are we okay with our situation? Are we okay with people that we encounter today and in all our relationships? Then generosity, we can look at how we can be generous. Thankful alcoholic, we give generously of our time. We help other people recover from alcoholism today. Whereas vice versa, my drinking career, I was going to drink up everything that was put out in front of me. I don't care if you was my best friend. If you left that bottle sitting in front of me and you walked out the room, it was going to be empty when you come back. That was bad. That wasn't being generous toward them, right? So I had to look at all of this. Where was I show love at? Didn't show a lot of love in my drinking career, but this program changed all that around. Where was my faith at? I was relying on self-faith. So I had to look at that condition. I was believing in myself, right, instead of a power greater than me. That was a killer. So where was my urge to forgive other people? I didn't want to do that either. No. So, it's a lot of different things that we go through. And I had skipped a go. When it talks about the fear of no control, right? I put an example like that in my column 1. So then when I go to column 2, I want to look at the cause of it. That's what I mentioned a while ago. I had started on this a while ago and I skipped all around. So I guess I'm just excited. It's been a beautiful day. Every day is beautiful today, though. And the second, I looked at the cause of when I had the fear of no control, right? Felt like I couldn't control nothing anymore. I wasn't in control no way when I was drinking, because once I took a drink, I was eventually out of control because I couldn't handle it no way. So, but then look at the cause, we have to look at why do we feel like we are not in control of something. And then we can blame other people, right? If you ask them to do something, they don't do it right. Then we turn around and say, well, if I want it done, I have to do it myself. If I want it done right. That's a cocky attitude. So then when we go to column 3, in this fear of no control. Okay, now we got to look at where this affects us at. Where does it threaten us at? Where does it hurt us at? Or interferes with, In this column, we can look at how this fear of no control, how does it affect my self-esteem? How does it affect my security? How does it affect my ambitions? How does it affect my pocketbook? How does it affect my business? How does it affect my relationship? Now, here's one I want to go through third, and then we'll move on. I had a fear of rejection, right? In column 1, I had a fear of rejection. So when I look at column 2, I have to look at the cause and the condition. So in my case, my parents, they was always there for me, right? But in my drinking career, my wife that I'm with, I'm married to, been married to her since 79, but we had a long separation, right? So I felt rejected when we split up years ago. Well, damn, you don't love me no more, huh? Why not? So I couldn't look at that I was the cause of all these problems. And then it hurt me because I was rejected. I felt rejected, right? And that was fearful of me. It's just part of the fear. And then I walked around for years thinking people didn't like me. They didn't want to be around me unless I could give something to them. And I'm steady trying to get stuff from them. So then when you get to column 3 in this area of my life, I was looking at how did this affect my self-esteem. It made me feel like a low soldier on the totem pole. I felt low, felt unwanted, I felt unloved. So we have to look at all these things. My security, I didn't have no security because I gave up everything that I had owned. So it affected all that. It shot my ambitions through the wall. The only thing I was ambitious about was taking another drink, seeing who else I could get something out of. Affected my pocketbook. The way it affected my pocketbook, especially the first 3-4 years after we had been apart, right? I spent more money on alcohol than other women and other kind of different drugs. So I get paid today and be broke tonight. But next morning I ain't even got a cigarette to smoke. So that affected me real bad. Sex relations, it was just crazy. We get into sex relations in just a minute. Matter of fact, it's on the next page. So then I had to look at where was I at fault in this situation. I had a sense of false pride. A lot of us have a sense of this false pride again. Being selfish, being self-seeking, wanted to be the center of attention. I always thought I was the center of attention everywhere I went, because I was going to be the drunkest one in the building. I was going to talk the most trash. I was thinking people would like me because of what I was doing. But, that was just a false. We alcoholics can't distinguish the true from the false, right? So that was a false sense of thinking I was somebody when I was actually a nobody. I was irresponsible in this fear of rejection. People pleasing. I tried to please people, and I tried to be like I was the big dog, but no, that alcohol took control over me. So I had a crazy fear of being unworthy, invisible, unacceptable, right? Because people would leave me when the liquor be gone. They'll leave me. If done help me drink it, because I did share my liquor sometimes, but they would leave me. But anyway, that pretty much take care of that. That's enough on the fear. Fear inventory. I just going through some of my stuff I got wrote down on my list that I had to go through. And it helped me out. So, Brother Dan, on page 68, perhaps there's a better way, and then outgrow fear to the second paragraph when we commence to outgrow fear. But yeah, you can start on perhaps there's a better way.
Yeah, sure. Bottom of page 68, everybody. Perhaps one set of voices cry that sex is a lust of our lower nature, a base necessity of procreation. Creation. Then we have the voices who cry for sex and more sex. We bewail the institution of marriage, who think that most of the troubles of the race are traceable to sex causes. They think we do not have enough of it, or that it isn't the right kind. They see its significance everywhere. One school would allow man no flavor for his fare, and the other would have us all on a straight pepper diet. We want to stay out of this controversy. We do not want to be the arbiter of anyone's sex conduct. We all have sex problems. We'd hardly be human if we didn't. We do about them. What can we do about them? We reviewed our own conduct over the years past. Where have we been selfish, dishonest, or inconsiderate? Whom had we hurt? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? Where were we at fault? What should we have done instead? We got this all down on paper and looked at it. Should you carry on, sorry?
Yeah, that's good. That's good right there. Okay. I want to go back to 6-8 just for 1 second. When it says, perhaps there's a better way, we think so, for we are now on a different basis, right? The basis of trusting and relying upon God. We trust infinite God rather than our finite selves. We are in the world to play the role he assigns, just to the extent that we do as we think he would have us, and humbly rely on him. Does he enable us to match calamity with serenity? I love that reading. We're on a different footing right now. Basis of trusting and relying on God. And you know, that helps remove resentments and fears, the harms we done caused others. But then we go through the sex inventory, we can be okay with what we done did in the past. Wow. Like the book says in the back, it works, it really does. I'm just gonna tell you. But I like to bring this up too sometimes. Very next paragraph on 68. It says, we never apologize for anyone for depending upon our creator. I use the word God an awful lot. People get offended on my recovered alcoholic pages and other pages I may participate in every now and then if I use the name Jesus. And they tell, oh, there you come, you're religious freak. No, this is just the power that saved my life. I'm not preaching Christ crucified, because I do preach Christ crucified when at the appropriate time and place. This is Alcoholics Anonymous. This is a spiritual program. The goose we in, you can feel free to express your relationship with your power by name. I never judge anybody for that, because it's not my job. If you want to say Allah, worship Allah, whoever, Confucius or whoever you want to, that's fine with me. But stop picking at me when I want to put something about the God that saved my life. Even I tell the atheist the same thing. And then I take them to page 214, 215 in the big book, and then I take them to Dr. Bob's story, the last paragraph. And leave it at that. I had to do that this week in that group. I had to do it this week several times. People mocking me and just, I had to talk to Joe one time, just a couple of days ago, about it. People don't have an open mind. They want to stay closed-minded. So I just need to share that for a minute. I did share with Joe, and we got okay with it, but I wanted to share it with y'all. Now, back to my reading. Okay. Now, bottom of 68, Brother Dan, I got this. It says, now, about sex, right? Many of us needing an overhauling there, but above all, we try to be sensible on this question. It's easy to get way off track. Here we find human opinions running to extreme. Human opinions, right? Absurd extremes, perhaps. One set of voices that cry sex is a lust of our lower nature, a base necessity of procreation. Yeah, it is a necessity for procreation. You know, God created the male and the female to reproduce. That's procreation, bottom line. But then another thing, a lot of people don't like to hear this today. In my preaching work that I do, God approves sex relations between a male and a female that are married. That's the only approved sex relationship. I was very guilty of this in my drinking career. One of the reasons me and my wife split up many years ago, but we reunited back together. I had a serious sex problem. On page 69, it talks about a straight pepper diet, right? It's in the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's the 8th sentence down on page 69. It talks about, well, I go back just a little bit. It said, one school will allow no man flavor for his fare, and the other would have us all on a straight pepper diet. We want to stay out of this controversy. We do not want to be the arbiter of anyone's sex conduct. Well, the straight pepper diet is a voracious sexual appetite. It seems that you can't get enough, you can't get enough, you can't get enough. I was guilty of this in my marriage, actually before I got the darn military, but my wife found out. Walked up on me several times. Had the most beautiful wife, and she's still beautiful today. But this alcohol had me feeling like I couldn't get enough sex. I was getting plenty at home. But this stuff will corrupt your mind so bad that you just can't seem to get enough. And this still can be based on fear, right? Wow. Fearful that I can't get enough of this. I can't get enough sex. Wow. I went through that crap. So then it goes on to say, we all have sex problems. We'd hardly be human if we didn't. So what can we do about them? Now, we reviewed our own conduct over the years past. So I had to look at where had I been selfish or where had we been selfish, dishonest, or inconsiderate. I had to put all these things down on my list right here. And when it comes to column 1, I'll share this with you. It talks about the spouse. I got my spouse wrote down. And it talks about the harmful sex conduct. So how did I harm her? What did I unjustifiably arouse? I had affairs, right? I unjustifiably aroused a lot of jealousy, resentment. I was feeling distrust in my spouse for no reason. Inadequacy. It's based on fear too, but this got to do with the sex inventory. So, column 3, it affected my self-esteem because I was doing wrong. It affected my relation with my wife. How would she feel? I mean, I couldn't look inside her brain and mind and see how she felt about the crap that I was doing. I was totally being dishonest. I was only looking out for myself. I was in deep state of lust when it talks about column 4, when it says, where am I at fault? I was in a deep state of lust, infidelity. I was being dishonest. I was being selfish. I was being self-seeking. I was being inconsiderate, irresponsible. Man, fear of no sex. Well, what if I go home, my wife don't give me no sex? That was a fear, because I've been out doing other things. When I get home, I'm fearful. So I put these things down on paper, right? And then column 5, what should I have done instead? That's the beauty of this program, because it's done changed everything. I can be intimate today without the thought of going out having to look for somebody else to be with when I don't need to be looking nowhere. I can be faithful today. I can be honest today, unselfish. I can be helpful to other people. Somebody struggling with some of the things I used to struggle with, even sex. I can simply help them through by talking to them through this book, or I can present my other big book to them, and I can have a study with you and help you out. So, responsible. It's all about being responsible now, because this program has changed so many things in our lives. We can be responsible human beings today. So then it says, in this way, we try to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. We subjected each relation to this test, asking whether it was selfish or not. But here's the key point. We ask God to mold our ideas and help us to live up to them. Change of behavior. These people that was on my sex inventory, because I've been with a couple of sets of sisters in my life. I'll be one sister today, another one tonight, and they blood sisters, 2 sets of them at one time. This set of sisters this week, the next week I'll be with them. I had to have all this, I had to write all this stuff down to get it off my conscience. That was no way to live. I was wrong. So we ask God to change our behaviors today, right? But we can't set the bar up so high that we can't live up to them. Key point today, after the years of me and my wife being split up, but I made the amends years ago. But then today, we just having a conversation this morning about some of these very things. It says, we remember always that our sex powers were God-given and therefore good, to be used lightly or selfishly, nor to be despised and loathed. Yes. Once again, I just shared a while ago about approval by God. Only sex relations approved between 2 human beings is a male and a female, and they have to be married. Everything else is against the bar. So, we try to raise our bar up, and we simply try not to act the way we used to. Bottom line, and then it says, whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow toward it. We must be willing to make amends, for we have done harm provided that we do not bring about still more harm in doing so. In other words, we treat sex as we would any other problem. Yeah. You know, being taken through this thing, you know, these steps work on the human condition as well as it worked on our alcoholism. Any problem we run into today, even when it comes to sex, things can change. Pray to God for guidance, direction. And it works for me. Step 11. When I'm struggling with something, I simply have to stop and take a pause and pray, God, direct me through this situation. What do I need to do in this situation? And then in meditation, it goes on to say, we ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The right answer will come if we want it. So when I'm making amends to some of these women I cause harm to, most of them accepted it. 3, 4 of them tell me, well, you don't owe me no apology. I said, yes, I do. Yes, I do. I got to get it off me. So it's all, you don't owe me. Yeah, I do owe you an apology. So I did. I apologize. I made amends. And today I don't act the same way. I'm not looking to you for sex no more. You know, different things. It's the way, it's our behavior change. You know, God does this. But here on page 7, I'm gonna fast forward to page 7. Okay, because I'm about out of time. It says, suppose we fall short. It's the first full paragraph of the chosen ideal and stumble. See, that's why we don't want to set the bar up too high for our expectations when it comes to sex. But then it's asking the question, does this mean we are going to get drunk? Not necessarily. The book says some people tell us so, but this is only a half truth. It depends on us and our motives. See, we got different motives today, right? We ain't trying to get everything from you today. No, I'm here to help you today, and I'm not looking for nothing in return. I'm not here to try to be with you and get in your pants. If you need some help, I will help you. So then it said, we are sorry for what we have done and have the honest desire to let God take us to better things. We will believe we will be forgiven, and we will have learned our lesson. Yes, thank God for teaching me a lesson like he did. And one more thing, Brother Dan, and then we get ready to close out. And it goes on to say, to sum up about sex, we earnestly pray for the right idea, for guidance in each questionable situation, for sanity, and for the strength to do the right thing. If sex is very troublesome, or if it's still causing you trouble, we throw ourselves the harder into helping others. We think of our needs and work for them. This takes us out of ourselves. It yields this imperious urge. When to yield would mean heartache. Wow, no doubt about it. So in this book, we'll read again and again. If fate did for us what we could not do for ourselves. Top of page 71, then I'll be ready to shut him down. So we hope you are convinced now that God can remove whatever self-will has blocked you off from him. If you have already made a decision, talking about the step 3 decision, in an inventory of your grosser handicaps, that's the step 4 list, you have made a good beginning. That being so, you have swallowed and digested some big chunks of truth about yourself. Thank God. Resentment inventory, the fear inventory, the harms we call others inventory, and the sex inventory. These are the important parts of our life. And that's where we find most of our blockages at. We look at our defects and where was wrong, how would it be harm people. Anyway, thanks everybody for being here today and allowing me to take care of the meeting. Happy Sunday, God bless. And we'll keep charging the happy road of destiny. You know, but okay.
No, it's cool.
Oh,
I just want to say thank you for facilitating the meeting.
All right.
And
Thank
I'll
you, brother.
shut down the recording.